Hey guys, so I am filming right now in the spot that I said that I wasn't going to film in anymore, but I figured it didn't really matter because we've all seen this a little bit. I did change some of the settings on my camera, so I don't know if I'm still yellow. So, I don't know. I was kind of inspired to do this video. I was not actually going to film today, but I was inspired to do this video because, one, it's been something I've been meaning to do for a couple weeks now, but also because I recently watched a very blunt and honest review from, I can't remember who, but she's well known. You probably heard of her. I'll link her down below because it was actually a really good review. Anyway, I might as well tell you what it's about, right? So it's about the Narsissist palette from NARS. We all know what this looks like. I don't know if this is being presented correctly on the camera because, like I said, I have been turning yellow and I'm not yellow, so I don't know, but there are plenty of places around the internet that I'm sure are showing the colors correctly, and I'm sure you've all seen it at this point. So I'm going to try to keep this like short and sweet right now because I want to let you guys know my honest opinions on this palette. I figured I would throw my opinions out into the mix of very, very mixed reviews. So this is a $79 palette. That's incredibly expensive, and I agree. If you can manage to get it at a discount, or if you can, you know, wait until I'm sure the VIB sale will be happening sometime around March and April. If you can hold off until then, I definitely would, because $79 is incredibly, incredibly expensive. But before you decide to buy it, wait until the end of the video. For $79, you get 15, I had to think. You get 15 NARS shadows. Now these are not full size. I thought I would throw that in there because nobody is really mentioning that. If you know NARS shadows, then you know that these aren't full size, but in case you don't know NARS shadows, I'm letting you know they're not full size. For a little comparison between the two, this is a full size NARS shadow, and these are the shadows in the palette, obviously. So clearly you can tell that this is bigger than these are. Honestly, that's not a big deal to me because even still, $79 for 15 NARS shadows, even if they are half size or however big they are, that's still a really good deal considering that one of these runs for about $24. So keep that in mind. The packaging is the same as all NARS packaging is. It's kind of, you know, that rubbery texturized feel. I don't love it, but I don't really hate it. I think it's classy looking, but it is kind of a pain in the ass when you consider that every piece of dust or dirt or whatever is going to be attracted to this, and that's pretty freaking annoying if you're one of those people that likes their makeup to be kept pristine and perfect looking. It's not going to happen with NARS, so stop looking now if you're interested in this. My biggest issue with the packaging would be that the shade names are not written anywhere on this palette. They're not inside, they're not on the back. Even on the box, they weren't really written. I mean, they were written on it, but more to tell you what the ingredients are in the palette. They weren't really like, you know, telling you where the shadows are in the palette. It was just pointless. So I wish that they did name the shadows on here. I don't really like this. I've been noticing almost like a trend. I don't want to call it a trend because I don't think they're like following this really, you know, but I've been noticing almost like a trend with palettes recently where the shade names are not written anywhere on the palette, and that's really pissing me off because I need the shade names somewhere on the palette in order to know what I'm using. I mean, like, a normal person could look at this and be like, oh, well, clearly that one's gray, and clearly that one's purple, and I can't do that because I'm colorblind. So I rely on shade names to, if I forget what something is, I can easily look it up online, but this does not help me at all. Now I'm going to get into the shadow quality, and I know that that's what everybody has been talking about, and that's what everybody has been bitching about, and either bitching about it or hyping it up. I'm not going to swatch all of these in here, but I'll swatch a couple of them to give you an idea of what mine look like. There's one of them, which was this one right here. this one right there. There's the black one from right there. Now, as you can see, the black one isn't the best. I mean, it's not the blackest black, and it did kind of fade towards the end there. But I wanted to throw out there that when you are swatching things with your fingers, they're not going to swatch the same as if you were using a brush. I find that these actually perform better with a brush than they do with finger swatches. In my palette, these 3 light shades, there's like next to no pigmentation with these. They don't really show up on my skin at all. I'm not even going to bother showing you where I swatch them because they really don't show up. But the rest of them, the other 12 in the palette, are really decently pigmented and they perform really well. So by saying that I think my palette performs pretty well, I'm not saying that I believe that other people are lying when they say that theirs performs like crap. Because, wait for it, I think that the reason why there's so many mixed reviews is because people are genuinely getting really bad palettes and really good ones. And for that reason, I'm going to tell everybody to just skip this palette. For a $79 palette, there should be no inconsistencies. There really should not be. You know, I understand why people's expectations have been lifted because it's a $79 palette from a top-notch name like NARS. They should not be producing palettes that are so hit or miss. That just should not be happening. So I can't with a clear conscience recommend that anybody buy this, even though mine is fine and I'm happy that I do have it and I am happy that it turned out fine. I can't tell anybody to go and spend the money on this when you have no guarantee that you're going to get a good one. For much less money, you can go and buy a palette that you know will be guaranteed to be really good. You know what I'm saying? Whereas this, there's no guarantee. And I think that that is a serious failure on NARS's part. If you're still curious about it, you always can return it if you decide to spend the money on it. But honestly, even still, I would recommend, you know, the Lorac Pro or the Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette or the Naked 3 palette or really any one of the Naked palettes I think would, you know, work fine. That's my 2 cents on it. I hope that this was helpful. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask me, and I'll talk to you guys later.